I'm Darryl Yokley, and I'm here with the great Pete Souders, the former owner of Ortlieb's Jazzhaus, which anyone who is from Philly should know that name, and in the jazz community should know that name as well. So thanks for being here with me, man. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you, Darryl, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to keep the memory alive for the younger generation that may not have had a chance to play in Ortlieb's, So
Right.
yeah, it's I left Philly in 2009, and I think shortly after the owners that took over after you kind of closed up shop, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, they did. They went out of business, I guess, somewhere around 2009 or 10. And then
Okay.
another guy bought the place. And I don't know if you remember, I did run a jam session for him for a little while on Tuesday nights.
I did. Matter of fact, I remember I went to one of them when I was down.
I thought so, yeah. But you were there before 2007 when I sold, right?
No, I actually got to Philly in 2007. So like, I guess as the club had reopened, I started coming.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay, I thought I knew you from before. All right.
Oh, yeah. I was hanging out enough to make people think I was from Philly, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh man. So I guess going back in time before my time in Philly, could you give us like maybe a brief history of like when you purchased the club and like when it opened and everything?
Okay, sure. That's easy. I bought the place, the building. It was an old. It was actually the original brewery tavern for the Ortlieb's Brewery, which was a brewery in Philly, up close to Girard Avenue, 3rd and Poplar, and I bought it in September of 1987.
Oh, okay.
September of 87, I guess it was around the 10th or 11th of September. And the first thing I did was I started that Tuesday night jam session almost immediately, probably the same week or the following week. Mm-hmm. Used some guys that I knew from, I had been going to University of the Arts. It was called PCPA, Philadelphia College of the Performing Arts at that time. Mm-hmm. And we started, Chris Taylor, who I knew from, I co-led a band with John Simon. You know John Simon?
I believe
Tenor sax player. He and I co-led a two tenor group. So I used some of the guys from that band and some people that I knew from PCPA and started the jam session.
Okay.
So then that was probably by the second week of September. So then I was trying to figure out what to do with the rest of the week. Of course, I had people that I thought about using and several different people. And I don't know which one was first. George Towns, who was a singer in Philadelphia, you may or may not remember George, great singer in the style of Billy Eckstine. He mm-hmm. suggested that I call Shirley Scott, as a sort of a leader of a house band, bring her trio in there. And so I thought to myself, well, that's kind of like, as I said to somebody a long time ago, kind of like asking God to come to your house, like she was like an iconic, brilliant musician that's had been around for so long and recorded so many albums. Mm-hmm. So I thought, geez, that I really felt uncomfortable asking her. And then a second person told me the same thing. Fred Miles, who used to run and you may not remember him, he ran one of those little newsletters that he went around to all the jazz clubs. I knew him very well from Gert's Lounge.
Okay.
So he said the same thing. He said, call Shirley. When the second person said it, I said, okay, I guess I might as well call Shirley. So I called her and, she was interested, I think mainly because I said that I wanted to run a club and run music seriously and for more than with the band as the focal point and more than on the weekends, you know, a full week of music.
Mhm.
So she came in, she started there October 1st of '87.
Oh, okay.
And she played the rest of that quarter. She played from October 1st to the end of the year. Then she had to honor a previous contract at a place called Adams Mark, which you may or may not have heard of. It's out on City Line Avenue, and she already had a contract for playing the first quarter of '88. At any rate, so she went back and honored that in the beginning of '88. But to get back to when she started, she came in the first week. I know it was a Wednesday night, October 1st of '87. She came in with Bobby Durham on drums.
Oh, nice.
and Benny Nelson on bass. Great
Mhm.
bass player for Philly. Knew every song. Had a real real groove. You know, he really played very on the beat, in the meter. You know, it was a real beautiful bass player. So she came. That was the trio she brought in at first, and then Bobby Durham had to go back out on the road after 3 weeks. So I guess the fourth week of October, Shirley came in with Mickey Roker.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, okay, no Bobby Durham, now we have Mickey Roker and still Benny Nelson, and that was the trio for a good part of the rest of the remainder of the year. And then sometime later in mid '88, in the next year, she actually came back in a little early. She came back in March of '88.
Okay.
And still Benny Nelson, and he was there for a good part of the year. And then Arthur Harper started to come into the scene, and Arthur Harper became the permanent bass player, I guess, by the end of '88, the beginning of '89. So it was Mickey Roker, Arthur Harper, Shirley Scott, and oftentimes Bobby Durham as well, and other people, of course, made up the rhythm section. But that main trio of Shirley, Arthur, and Mickey really became, I don't know, how do I say this, became so well knit that they started becoming noticed. They recorded an album on Muse with Shirley on organ, which is hard to find now. And then they recorded 2 on Candid live at a place at the Birdland in New York. So that they really got a lot of attention and made a bunch of records, you know. So they really clicked, and they were so tight. I used to stand there and close my eyes and think I was listening to the Bud Powell Trio, you know. That's how good they were.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Ortlieb was kind of like the haven for them to get that sound together, and then they went off and did stuff at Birdland and recorded.
They did a lot of exactly, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
they played 3 nights a week, often 4 nights, either 3 or 4 nights a week. And Shirley was there pretty much. I was going to look in my calendars. She was there almost steady through the rest of, through '88, '89, '90, maybe part of '91. And then she did some other things. She went back and finished up a degree at Cheyney University, and she also taught there. And then she also got asked to be the musical director for the Bill Cosby Show, which was the latter Bill Cosby Show where he was recreating the Groucho Marx vibe. I don't know if you knew anything about that, but they recorded all that stuff down at the theater in Philadelphia. So she was a musical director for that as well. And that was around '92 maybe, or something like that.
Oh man, okay. And then was that the band? Is that around the time that Tim Warfield joined her band?
Tim Warfield, he had already pretty much. He and Terrell Stafford both worked with the band. And they recorded a third record on that Candid label with Shirley. I think she might have gone back over to Oregon for that one, but they had Mickey wasn't on the record. The drummer was drummer from Wilmington, Delaware. His name is escaping me right now. I'll think of it in a minute. But Arthur was on the record. But they recorded a record with Tim Warfield. But he and Terrell were both in her house band for that show too, for the Cosby Show.
Oh, nice, nice. So
Yeah.
like you kind of evolved from like your as you as the jam session leader, like house band. Then it almost seems like as if Shirley kind of became the house band at Ortlieb's, so to
She
speak, I guess.
she was the house band at Ortlieb's, yeah,
Yeah.
and we would get guest artists on the weekend. Tim Warfield told the story that his dad told him to come down to Philly, and he came in there, and Shirley he went to the jam session, and Shirley was running the jam session. Well, it's almost true, except he came into the jam session on a Tuesday night, and Shirley never played the jam session on Tuesday night. So
Oh.
Tim came in there, and of course I heard Tim, right, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, wow, like, so I asked him for his card, and he told me later on that he thought he'd give me his card and I would never call him. Well, I called him within a couple of weeks because somebody called out for a Friday night, and I thought, well, I'm going to call Tim. And I remember calling Shirley, and I said, I have this guy coming, and you're really going to like this guy. And she was like, they never really they had to hear the person before they passed judgment on whether they would
Right.
like him or not.
Yeah.
So when he came in and played on Friday night, she said like, oh, okay, where'd you come from? This kind of
Uh-huh.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh man, yeah. So there's so much history in that club that prior to me getting there in 2007 that I hear bits and pieces of. So it's nice to hear it from you. Having
Yeah.
been there from the start.
Yeah.
When did Mike and Byron and Sid get together?
They were, I was using, let me see, how did this work out? They started as the rhythm section for the jam session, probably about 93, maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
92, 93. I was also using when Shirley there was several things going on, and when Shirley got kind of busy with the other things I was talking about, including the Cosby Show, I was using Freed Barron a lot on piano with the
Okay.
same, the remainder was the same, Arthur and either Mickey or Bobby.
Mhm.
And then other piano players that were coming in too were especially Sam Dockery a lot. So
Oh, I remember
between Sam
Sam.
Dockery and Farid, everything was covered. But then Sid started. I think I had a third different rhythm section for Tuesday nights, and that was Byron, Mike
Mhm.
Boone, and Sid Simmons, and then they kind of evolved into being the core of the house band, for the rest of the week, the weekend and the Thursday nights and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
Oh
that
man.
just took place over time. I think they were there a lot from 95 on.
Hmm. Oh man. So they had already been playing. Geez, when I got there, 2007. Yeah, it's about 15 years already of playing
Oh,
together.
they had been there easy 10 years. And I
Yeah.
think I started Bootsy Barnes and his organ trio
Hmm.
there on Wednesday nights, or
Hmm.
somewhere around maybe 95 or so, or maybe it was 96 or 7.
Uh-huh.
Again, I should look at my calendars, but anyhow, he was there for quite a while with his organ trio. So then the rest of the house band was Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Gotcha. Oh
Hmm.
man, oh man. Let's see. I'm looking at my so like back then, I guess what was the vibe like of the club? Because I remember hearing stories about like the water buffalo head and like just like
Well, when I took the place over, it was kind of like an old man bar, and it got to some people. I remember one singer was giving me a hard time, and she reminded me of it just recently. There was animal heads all over the stinking place.
okay,
Deer. There was a fox up there and stuff, and so
okay,
gradually, I got rid of all that stuff. But I moved that bison head or whatever it was called to the right, and that one guy that I told you, Fred Miles, he gave it a name. He called it Fendel. So it became like a fixture in the place. So that was the one thing that had to remain, the water buffalo head. But all the other things that went. But you asked about the early days of the place. I mean, there were some. I was just thinking about this recently. I'd be up on the bandstand, and after about 6 months, or maybe it was a year, all of a sudden, especially the jazz musicians came to know about the place. And I'd be up there, with this rhythm section of, Mickey Roker and Shirley Scott. And one night I looked over to my left, and the little spot right between the bandstand and the bar. There's Ray Bryant standing there. Hen Gates, who was a piano player on one of Dizzy Gillespie's and Charlie Parker's early records, and Evelyn Sims' husband, Lonnie, who played baritone sax with Dizzy Gillespie's. I mean, these three guys, and I didn't know all three. I knew who two of them were. I didn't know the third. And Bootsy told me, well, that's Evelyn's husband. I'm like, these are legends just standing there like this, listening to the music. I'm like, well, I would have had to stick a pin in my arm to make sure I was really not living a dream, with these people, these wonderful musicians in there, and it was happening all the time,
Yeah, were a lot of the cats from New York at that time coming down to check out the vibe in Philly as well?
Some would, and I remember Roger Prieto, the trumpet player, saying to me, like, one night he was in there and there was all these guys from Trenton, like half of Trenton was in there, half of the Trenton jazz musician community was in there. So yeah, a lot of, especially from Trenton, but some from New York, of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, because I remember when I was there, I think I met Jeff Tain Watts there, and then I think that came through. So I imagine even before I got there, I'm sure some other people have come through that club too.
One night, George Benson, we had a picture hanging up on the wall with George Benson sitting in with Bootsy, the two of them up there. And I was standing outside one night, and I guess it was during one of the jazz festivals, and up pulls a car and out jumps these guys, and it was Branford Marsalis, and he sat in with Shirley, and he said, I couldn't wait to get here to hear Shirley, so that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Man, yes. It's just like, I'm just trying to think who else. In my time, I think I got to sit in with, what's my man's name on trombone? I'm blanking on the name right now. Like, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Not the Eubanks? The one of Robin Eubanks, maybe?
No, it was Wycliffe Gordon. Wycliffe Gordon was there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember my first time sitting in with some New York musicians, and I was just so nervous. I was like, I hope I know whatever tune they call, but
yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. No,
yeah, but I guess what was I don't know if I ever asked you what was the cause or maybe the reason you wind up selling the club.
Well, it was mostly a health reason. I had a serious accident when I was a kid driving a go-kart. Triple compound fracture of my left leg, bones sticking out everywhere. And so over the years, every once in a while I'd have trouble with there was one bad spot where there was a lot of scar tissue and it would break down. Well, in 2006, that was the year before I sold it, in the fall, it happened again, and I had a hard time with the wound care specialist. I had a hard time getting it to heal up.
Okay.
I mean, it was like all these special measures, and I had to take to get it to heal up. And they said one thing is stress. You got if you have a high stress level, it's harder to get wounds to heal. So I said, well, that was kind of like. That was kind of like the icing on the cake for me, because I was thinking about I was getting worn down by doing it, if you know what I mean. It was 20 years, 87 to 2007 was 20 years, and I was kind of thinking about it. Boy, I don't know how much longer I can do this, and that was the thing that made me make up my mind.
Yeah. Was it hard, like on an emotional level, to let go of that place? I'm sure that was your baby for the longest time.
Oh yeah. Well, it was different. It was both. It was hard. Hard to go back in. You mean?
Maybe that too as well, but maybe just initially, even just letting the place go as well.
Oh yeah. That was yeah. Absolutely, sure. I have dreams about about going back in there, and somebody else has had it, and I had to take it back over. And how am I going to pay the musicians? And I haven't even gotten a band for next week yet. Oh, cripes! Nobody's going to know who it's going to be, so nobody's going to come. I mean, that's been almost like a PTSD kind of thing ever since.
Oh no, it's still in cold sweats. Oh no.
Yeah, that's right.
Once a club owner, always a club owner, right?
I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, any chance that you'll get open up a new club or go back?
I don't think so. I think I'm a little bit too. I mean, I don't think of myself as being old, but I don't know if I mean, I would love to help somebody consulting, hiring, maybe run a session or something like that. But I can't. It's really hard to run a jazz club.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're 24/7 almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also you gig too, so it's like you're working double duty. So.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's true. I should tell you the story about what prompted me to want to do a thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Run a jazz club.
Yes, please.
Because it's kind of an interesting story, and it's like a three-part story separated by years in between.
Mm-hmm.
So around in I guess the winter of '65 into '66, I had played in a band, the first jazz-oriented band I played with after 2 years with a rock and roll band. With this band, playing 6 nights a week and stuff like that. It was called Richard's Night Riders, and we got to play a lot of jazz. It was a really fun experience for me. So then I had to go back and finish college, and I got married. And the guy whose place I had taken in this band
mm-hmm.
called me up. I guess it was probably February or February of '66. He says, Coleman Hawkins is going to be at Pushniks. Now I was playing out of Reading, Pennsylvania. Pushniks is in Lebanon, which is like 30 miles to the west. He said, Coleman Hawkins is going to be at Pushniks next week. I'm like, really? Now, Coleman Hawkins is my idol.
Gotcha.
So I took my wife, and then we go, just walk in. So I listen to a set, and he was marvelous, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And being the naive young guy that I was, I thought, well, I'm going to just go. He takes a break. I'm going to go talk to him. So I go and sat down with him, and I didn't even buy him a drink. That's how stupid I was. I didn't know to buy him a drink. Mr. Hawkins, can I talk to you? So yeah, we talked about the usual stuff that a young sax player would ask somebody else, like what kind of mouthpiece do you use? How long have you been using a metal mouthpiece? Because I thought they were relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
He said ever since, like it was from ever since the 30s. I'm like, what did I know, right? So we have this ongoing conversation. I told him what records. I discovered him on Coleman Hawkins Meets Duke Ellington. And then I bought Today and Now, and then other ones. And he told me that Today and Now was his favorite record that he had made all through the years, which I thought was very interesting. Great record. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, then he goes and he sort of chides me. He says, why doesn't this part of the country, this area, which I took to mean Eastern Pennsylvania, support, I guess what you would call marquee artists, big name artists, jazz artists. And so I guess I got a little defined. Well, I had played at this place in Lancaster, like a room, like an entertainment room. But we used to on Saturday, after our Saturday matinee, we would go down to Lawson's mm-hmm. in the center of Harrisburg. So I said, well, there's Lawson's, like they run a lot of good artists. He said, well, who'd they have there? I said, well, last time I was there, they had Yusef Lateef. So he says, like this, he says, who's Yusef Lateef? He says, I'm talking about the Beatles. And on my head could have twisted around like that movie, you know, with the, I'm thinking, wait, he just, and he was famous for doing that, I learned later, you know, saying something that just throws you off so badly. But I just kind of always remembered that, you know, like there's got to be places that really support the music, you know, and support good music and name music. So that was 66. So I guess about, when was this now? In 1969, around the second time. Now I'm working for Sun Oil Company, and once or twice a year they would send you on a self-development seminar or something. So you could pick where you wanted to go with your boss's approval, of course. So I would always pick something in New York, you know, so I could go to the jazz club. Because Coleman Hawkins told me whenever he was in New York, he'd be most of the time at the Village Vanguard. So I guess this is the second year I got up there. The first year was 68, and he was out of the country. But this time I go up there, and it was May of 69, and I had another guy. We were going to this seminar on database management and design. So I was a computer geek, you know. So we go there, and the first night we're in town, I'm asking all over town. And I used to get this Jazz Interactions schedule that Joe Newman put out. Nobody knows where Coleman Hawkins is if he's in town or not. Nobody was sure, blah, 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 blah. We closed up this bar over on the east side somewhere. We were there till 4 a.m. listening to the Horace Parlan Trio. You know, bars in New York close at 4 a.m. So we're there, me and Dick Jones, my buddy who was with me. We closed this joint. The next morning, I wake up and I had the TV set to wake me up to get to class. I mean, I only got in at 5, you know.
Oh, yeah.
7:30, the TV goes off, and they're playing Body and Soul. And I knew it was the Chicago Playboy Jazz Festival version. And I heard a guy talking, and I just said, oh my God, he died. He died that very night. I was all over town looking for him.
Oh.
So he passed away. It was May of 69. So of course I never heard a word in the seminar the rest of the week. I mean, I bought every record I could find. I was like in mourning, you know. But the club, this is the thing, the club we were in, later on when I started to think about looking into a jazz club, when I walked into Ortlieb's, it was like walking into the same club. You walked in, the bar to the right, high countertop on the left, bandstand on the right. The bandstand was a little different. The piano jutted out into the room a little bit more, but it was the same exact bandstand, and the tables all the rest of the way. I'm like, oh, this is the place it has to be. So that was the third. That was part 3. You know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, I mean, it's funny. You know, obviously I went to Philly first, but then, you know, now that I've been up in New York for a while, it seems like in the city of Philly has kind of Ortlieb's had that kind of same home feeling, like going into Smalls, like after a gig, and like you get to hang with the cast. You know?
People used to tell me that it reminded them of Bradley's too.
Yes, I never really went to Bradley's.
I never did either. Sorry to say, I never made it to Bradley's. Yeah. But I asked Mickey Roker. I tried to describe this club to him where I was going that night when I was looking for Coleman Hawkins, and he said that might have been the old 5 spot.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure. Of course, I'm not sure, but both he and Arthur thought it was probably the 5 spot.
Okay, I think it was 5 spot on the east side, if I remember right. Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know, but had checkered tablecloths. You know, they were turned at a right angle all the way back through the room. It was like a nice room, you know. And the other thing about that, see, the Ortlieb's Tavern room, the Ortlieb's Jazzhaus room, the place I had was longer than most Philadelphia bars, because that street between 3rd Street and the one behind it,
Okay.
that's a long block.
Gotcha.
So it's a little bit different configuration of a city row house, of which most of those places originally were. They were big old city row houses, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I miss the orange lighting when you walk in. I always felt like they had a nice vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a brew house, but I remember some musicians were saying it used to be a bowling alley. Is that true or not? That not?
I've heard different. I don't think that the bowling alley was on the first floor. I had some old timers tell me they thought it was, and other people say that no, it was in the basement. I don't know how it was in the basement, because the basement was kind of like a dungeony kind of place back at that time. But so I'm not sure. I don't think it was on the first floor though.
Okay, gotcha. I was
Yeah.
always curious about that because
Yeah.
it's like, look, it's a long bar. I was like, nah, I don't know if it's a bowling alley though.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody told me that some of the old timers told me there was, those wood walls that were in there.
Uh-huh.
Those wood walls were put up sometime in the 30s or 40s, and behind those walls were murals that some local artist drew. I never saw them, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's such a kind of like a conservatory. I remember, like for me, I majored like kind of primarily in classical studies. So for me, my second grad school or doctorate, I guess so to speak, learning jazz was at that place.
A lot of people have told me that. Mike Boone says that. Terrell Stafford, I remember him telling me he was a classics man. He was a classical trained musician, more so.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. So you're in good company.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say maybe that's one of the greatest legacies from you establishing that is like all the musicians that came through and
Yeah. I remember seeing Dwayne Burno carrying his bass up Poplar Street must have been coming over from Temple or somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Carrying his bass, huge bass, with no cover on it. It was probably in the summer. He must have been 17. So this was probably like 88, probably the really early, But yeah, the number of people that have come through there,
Mm-hmm.
I should make a list sometime.
Yeah, I was about to say there's so many questions and more stories. I feel like I have to do like a part 2, and maybe I'll have to have like Mike and Byron and some of the other cats join us on the call and like have like a nice little like round table or something.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, that'd be fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little nostalgic trip down memory lane.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. Oh, but I know you got stuff later, so I don't want to keep you too long. But like I said, I would love to do a second round of this because I mean,
we could do a second round. I don't see why not. And I can think a little bit more about it. I mean, one of the things you had asked me was what were some of the best memories that I had, so I can go on about that. I can give you really, yeah.
Yeah. Any quick memories you want to share before we head out, or any that?
Well, yeah, I'll give you a couple of quick ones.
Uh-huh.
Early in the ball game, I guess it was probably June of, I don't know if it was 88 or 89. It was one or the other. It was one of the I guess it was the Pico Energy Jazz Festival. So I had a guest artist there with the house band, Shirley, Mickey, probably Arthur by that time. So, the band was clicking, and all these people came in. Sonny Rollins' whole band came in. Mark Soskin, the piano player.
Uh-huh.
Not Sonny. Sonny didn't come in, but his whole band came in. And then Bobby Durham came in with Ernie Andrews. You know who Ernie Andrews is?
No, I don't. Okay.
He's from LA, and he's like and he got up and sat in with us, and he's this he's kind of like a Kansas City shouter, kind of a jazz blues singer. He would hold his microphone right in front of his chest, his diaphragm, and he would rock back and forth like this and sing. And I just had chills coming up and down my body. Listening, I was standing right next to him, and I'm like, but this is the real thing, Check out Ernie Andrews. He was a bad dude, man. And I think people should know more about him. So that was one night. And then I'll just tell you one more. And Mike Boone was around by this time. But the house band this particular night was Shirley, Mickey, and I think it was Arthur. And the guest artist was Harper. There's Philip and I guess Philip
Harper.
Winard, which one? Winard's a drummer.
Yeah, Winard, and then Philip Harper. Yeah,
Philip's the trumpet player. So Philip was the guest artist that night. So we had to use, the night was electric, but we were just getting done, and people came in from all over. Orrin Evans came in from, I think he was playing up at place in Jenkintown, and he brought John Ormond, his bass player, and then Mike Boone came in from somewhere. And Fambro came in from downtown somewhere, so maybe Bix, I don't know, some jazz club. So the place filled up with musicians. So I don't know, about 10 after, quarter after 2, guys said, can we lock the doors and keep playing? Well, you can ask Mike Boone about this. We played until everybody played. Bootsy was there. We played until about 6 a.m.
Oh, nice.
That was special. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know that happened. I've seen stories that used to happen in Bradley's in New York quite often. So, I mean, I used to think, well, wow, that was really unusual. Well, it wasn't unusual for New York, but it was unusual for Philly.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, I definitely miss it. I mean, is the new club, is it even doing any jazz or any live music?
No, they're not doing jazz at all. They kind of turned it into I wouldn't say a teeny bopper joint, but a young, like a kind of a younger person's place,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I remember. I think a couple years back, and I was playing in Philly. I drove by there, and I was like, kind of like seeing the old girlfriend's house or something.
Yes, I know. Yeah, right. You dig? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So I think I had Wayne in the car, and he's like, "Should we go in?" I was like, "Nah, I think it's better we just remember the way it was."
Wayne Smith.
Wayne Smith, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I miss Wayne, man.
Yeah. I talked to him often. I have to tell him to reach out. Yeah.
Tell him I said hello.
Okay, we'll do.
Now, are you in New York?
I'm just outside of New York. I'm in Fort Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up that way, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the whole bridge crisis. So, if they shut down the bridge one more time, maybe I'll be back in Philly.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, thank you for your time, man. It's so good to talk with you.
Thank you for setting this up. It's fun. It was enjoyable to talk to you.
Likewise.
Yeah, if you have any more questions, just do it again. I'm up for it. It's fun, kind of fun.
Yo, man, most definitely. Yeah, there'll definitely be a second round. But again, this is the great Pete Souders here joining me today. This is for Occhi magazine, and paying homage to Ortlieb's Jazzhaus, and this will be just part 1, because there's going to be a part 2. I'm going to set it up so we have a nice little round table for next time.
Oh, okay, Darryl. All right, okay.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you, and good to talk to you again.
All right, likewise.
Keep swinging.
All right, you too. Take care.